Good evening, class. So, today we will be starting with Maya again. So, this will be kind of introduction to Maya, only the second part to the previous. So, in this, we are going to start with the menus. We are going to cover the menus, the basic things in the menus, which will be useful for modeling and then editing your things. And then we will be getting into this status bar. Okay, and then we will be getting into this shelf also, how you can create your custom shelf for editing the things, whether it is modeling or whatever you need to do it. So I'll start with the menus. uh, so getting to the file menu is common, that you need to create the new scene, open, and then save as. Okay, and then already I have gone through with the project window and the set project in the previous video, part 1. So the next thing, getting into the edit, you can also see while getting into the edit menu, the undo, the shortcut is in front of us, that is understood, control Z and then control Y. So you can also press simple Z rather than pressing control Z. And then for the cutting, pasting, and then the important thing over here is delete. Now what do you mean by delete? The simple, if you're clicking on the delete, the object is getting deleted. But what is delete by type? And then there are so many things over here, that delete by type as in history or channels. What does this means? And then coming forward to the duplicate special, and then transform, and then grouping and ungrouping. So how it will going to work. And furthermore, we're going to continue with the rest of the menus. So coming to the delete part, suppose I have created a geometry that is cube. So scaling it with the R, and then we can see this cube must be having something in the attributes over here. In the right hand side, we can see in the channel box, this is the channel box. So currently I have scaled at 12 point something value, so we're going to round it off like that only. This is around 15 centimeters or millimeter, whatever the unit setup you have given already. And then again, if I get over here in the bottom part in the polycube, you can see that subdivision, height, width, everything is there. Now if I select this part, and then if I select the face, particular face, and then extrude it. So simple command for extruding it. Extruding is you are adding a part into this geometry from this base geometry only. So shift click and drag, we will going to get extrude. Click the face, shift click and drag. Otherwise you can also use control E, that will be a shortcut, but I think this will be easier. So control E will give you a kind of menu also, so you can extrude it. So how many times we have done the extrusion? On the right hand side, we can see in the inputs that this was the polycube 1, and then you have extruded one time, then second time, and then 3. So tweak means you are tweaking something, you are editing it, means you have selected a face. Again, if I select the face and then shift click and drag, and then press E to rotate this part also, and then again press G for the last command. Hit the last command. The last command is extruding only, so we are extruding it. We have created something now. So this is a kind of tweak we have done to this geometry. So this will be always there, but the important thing is that what about the history? So this is the kind of history which is getting generated over here. PQ1 is getting extruded 4 times, 1 2 3 and then 4. So this is the thing. Now as soon as you are done with the modeling part, so modeling is the first thing in the production process. So after creating the model, you need to delete the history, because we are done with the modeling part. So we need to delete the history. Why we need to delete the history? Because history will going to give you, it will going to utilize your space on the hard drive. Okay, suppose if you are saving the file with the history, so the file size will be more as compared to the file size which is not having any kind of history. So getting into the edit and then delete by type history. So shortcut is also there, Alt Shift D. Simply click it over here. As soon as you are clicking over here, you are now getting rid of that history. So now a model is clear. You are not having any kind of connection with the history. And furthermore, we cannot edit this geometry also. Suppose if I was having the history, I'll undo it, and then if I need to edit this extrude thing, right? So how many points I have given the extrude, the local translate Z, you need to simply select the model and then get into this, and then scroll it down to the bottom, local translation Z, and then the value is around 11 point something, so we can decrease it. And then same thing you can do for the poly extrude phase 2 also. The value over here is must be something around, we need to search it for poly extrude phase 2, and then extrude, we need to see it where it is. This is the thing. I think we have extruded or not, we have extruded. But if I get to the extrude phase 1, where it is, twisting, nothing is happening. Coming to the phase 1, extrude 1. So I think because I have deleted the history and then again I undo it, so this is the thing we are getting it. So what I'll do, I delete it again and then again I'm creating it, scaling it, selecting the face and then shift click and drag, select the model, get to the poly thing. So I think when you're clicking with the shift, you're not getting the editing of that history thing. See, the local translation Z is this much only. So whatever you are extruding from this thing, shift click and drag, it will be always as 0 in the local translation Z. So local translation, this is local translation is 0. Okay, this is always reset at 0 only. So this is the thing. So if you want to edit further, suppose you have selected this face and then pressing Ctrl E. So pressing Ctrl E and then again pressing G. So you are using the modeling menus tools rather than using the shift. So then at that time you will be getting, now you can also see we are not getting that tweak kind of thing. So poly phase 3 directly we are getting that local translation Z. We can local translation, we can move it and then moving to the local translation Z over here, we can also edit this part and then we can also edit this part. So I think what you need to do, if you again need to edit your extrusion, you simply need to get to the Control E, extruding the way it is mentioned over here with the shortcut. So if you don't want to edit it back and forth, then simply select the face and then shift click and drag it. So you will be getting amount of extrudent, but it will be always 0. Remember this thing. So local, it will be as 0 only. Now again we need to delete it. Simply get into this thing, delete by type and then history, done. We are deleted. Now what about this thing, delete by type and then delete all by type? So the thing is that you're having multiple objects over here. So this is now sphere, scale it, focus it, pressing F. Now I've selected all these things over here and then Control E or Control E will going to work over here. So into the Z we are extruding it now. After extruding, we got this thing, we are getting some kind of here history also. Again Control E and then move it over here and then further we can move it into the X or whatever the direction you need to give it. Suppose this is the kind of geometry we are getting. So we are getting some kind of history. Now like this you will be having more and more objects. So certainly you will be selecting the object and then you are getting into the edit menu and then select one by type, you will going to delete the history. So rather than selecting, you simply get into the edit and delete all by type and then history. That's it. So history is removed. So now how this history is getting generated, because on the top status bar we are having a shortcut over here. You can simply click on this triangle, small triangles. This is known as the construction history. So because this is enabled on, that's why we are generating the history. If I create a new scene over here and then polycube, we are having a connection of it and then delete it, disable it, we are not getting any connection. Now you cannot create subdivision or decrease or increase the size of the object. So simply check it on to create the things and then we can also cross check it. Suppose if I am selecting and then pressing Ctrl E, I am extruding it, you are not getting any kind of history. And plus one more thing, you are selecting this face, you are pressing Ctrl E, you are not getting that gizmo also which you were getting previously. So always use, check it on and select it and then press Ctrl E. Now you are getting this thing. So always remember to check this on and then these are the two things over here, delete by type and then delete all by types. So the next thing is getting into the duplicate. So now if I am having one object, so this is object and then I need to use this duplicate, Control D, simple. You are selecting the object, Control D, move it, Control D, move it. But again and again we are not going to use the Control D button. we're going to use shift D because the amount of distance between the two cubes, we need a same kind of distance into the third cube also. So simply select the last cube and then shift D. Okay, again you need to do it because there is some kind of time for it. So select the object, control D. As soon as you have done the command for the control D, simply instead after doing the control D, simply use the shift D, and then shift D. Again created the sphere. After creating the sphere, control D, move the sphere over here, and then again shift D, shift D for multiple things. Now this is the thing. So this is known as the duplicate with transform, and then this is the duplicate. Now what about the duplicate special? Suppose you need to create the stairs, so cube and then scale it. We're going to create a step of a stairs. So selecting this, we're going to hide the grid also. It is getting in between of the models, so simply click over here, this icon. You will going to get rid of all the grid. Now selecting this box and then getting to the edit, duplicate special. So you will be getting a window over here when you will be clicking on this with the shift click, and then the window will be in front of us. Reset it, always reset it. And then there are the things, suppose you need to copy it, so simply you are copying it or instance it. So copy and instant difference will be simply you need to translate into the 5 units or 10 units. Suppose if I give 20 units in the x, so this is x, this is y, this is z, and then we need to copy it, apply, we have copied the thing. Now I'll delete the thing, and then again we're going to duplicate it, but with the help of instance. So clicking and then applying it. Now when you will going to get into the component mode of this model, you will be selecting the edge, and then same object will be getting selected over here also. Selected, the same thing can be edited in the next geometry. So this is known as the instance. So depending on you whether how you want to do it. And then next thing is selected. After selecting it, we are getting the thing that is x, y, and then z. This is for the translation, this is for the rotation. So translation, I need a translation of I think 5 units, and then rotation will be amount of degree you need to give, right? And then the degree will be around 30 degree, and then scaling, we don't want any kind of scaling, and the number of copies. So the number of copy depending on the detail you want. Suppose if I give the number of copies around 16, and then if I apply it, so this is the thing we are getting. This is getting a kind of rotation in the center point only, but we need some kind of distance in the steps. Suppose we need to create the stairs, so we need to give the translation not in the x but into the y. So I'll give the translation in the y, not in the x, and then if I apply it, we are getting something like this. Now this is getting on top of each and everything. What we need a kind of center point. So what I'll do, the values will be same, but coming to the top view, we need to move the pivot point. So selecting the object and then pressing the D, and then we need to move this pivot point over to the center of this object, right? And then again press W or D to get rid of that pivot point editing. Now selecting this box again, and one more tip over here. Again, if you want to get into this menu duplicate special, simply you can click on the middle mouse. You will be getting that same window rather than getting into the edit, and you will be able to search for the duplicate special thing. So edit and then simply middle mouse. So now the values will be same, and then you can see we are getting the states. Now we can also edit with the degrees or the distance between the height. So if I'll give it 2 and then apply, see the height will be less, and then degree I think that is more than enough, so we'll give as 15. So see, now you're getting it more. And then if I increase it to 100 number of copies and then apply, you're getting the stairs over here. So now this distance between the stairs depending on the degree in the translation you have given. Undo it, and then degree will be around 5. Apply. So this is the thing. So now you can create the stairs with the help of the duplicate special. So this was with the help of the instance. So what I'll do, I'll edit the single step. Okay, so I'll get into this and then move it to the top, so you can see, and then we can select this face and then move it to the axis. So this is the thing we are getting. So these are the things, right? So this is duplicate special. And then coming to the group, what is group? Simply we are grouping something. Earlier I told you in the part 1 also that what is the outliner. So everything which you have created over here, each and everything will be getting seen in the outliner. So many cubes we have used over here. Click off over here in the PQ1, and then number of cubes we have generated, that is PQ101, and then Control G. Now this is the object, and then you can simply click in the outliner to select the group and then rename it as stairs. Enter. Done. Or simply if you want to select from the viewport, select the single object, any single object, and then press upper key, the gaming arrow keys to the upwards. That's it. And then this is the thing, you can arrange it, and then you want to duplicate it, Control D, and then Shift D, Shift D, Shift D. Now your file size will also be kind of getting into the more. So this is it. And then again, group is simple, ungroup understood. We need to ungroup something. Okay, we can scatter it out. And then what is parenting and unparenting? So cube is there, and then a sphere is there. So this is a sphere, so we need to connect a connection between both of them. Suppose if I am moving the sphere, or if I am moving the cube, the sphere should move along it. So this is known as the parenting and unparenting. So the object which is getting selected at the first, and the object which is getting selected at the second, and then we are hitting the P key. So the object which is getting selected at the first will be a child, and then the object which is hitting at the second time will be a parent. So you are selecting the object and then moving it. Now what we need this to be as a parent, this to be a child. So simply we need to select it and then press Shift P, unparented. From you can see in the outliner also the group was created. This is for the group P cube, this was getting connected to it. Simply select the child, Shift P, and then unparented. Then the next thing is select this part and then select it part, then press P. Now this is your parent. So this is the parent. So this is known as the parenting thing. So this will be a kind of useful in the further thing. Okay, so we have completed this menu. Coming to the create. So in the create menu, I'll move it to the next. Select, we're going to cover that create some other time. So the reset and then freeze transformation. So what do you mean by reset and freeze transformation? Again, I'll create a cube. After creating a cube, you need to move it somewhere, and then you need to give a value which was earlier at a 0, right? It was a 0. So this cube was created over here. The position, the translation, the channels were, the initial channel was as 0 0, right? So when you're moving this object, you're getting some kind of values. You're getting in the rotation also, you're getting in the scaling also. So as soon as I'm getting into the modified and reset or freeze transition, freeze will going to freeze the values over here only. So I'll click over here, freeze. So everything is freezed over here. Now this is the initial stage of that object. Again, if I move it, again if I do the freeze, so rather than clicking on the menus, you simply middle mouse on the top menu, and then you are getting that freeze transformation. Now when I'm moving it, this object, I want that it should move back to the original place, so we need to use that reset transformation. So this is useful when you are modeling the references behind the object, and then the references behind the object, by mistake the object is moved. So simply by this way you can click on the modify and then reset or freeze the transformation. Now what about the center pivot? Center pivot is simple. The object is in front of you, and then scale it. Now this is the pivot which is in the center of the object. Now we need to simply click it and then move to the edit the pivot point, press the D, and then you can move the pivot point over here, and then again press W. The pivot point is edited, the pivot point will be over here. So this is the pivot point. Now you need to center the pivot into the object, so modify and then center pivot. The pivot point will be in the center point. You need to snap the point also of the pivot, so pressing the D, the pivot point is in the edited mode, and then simply click on the align. See, when you're moving your mouse to the point, to the corner, see, you can see, click, click over here, the object is aligned, and then you can click over here, so the pivot point is getting to the points, and then W. So now the pivot of this object will be on this part, and now when I'm duplicating this object onto the top, we need to align this object. So the pivot point is over here. So what I want, I will be selecting it and then pressing V, and then with the middle mouse click and drag we can snap the objects. How? Pressing V, no left, no right click, simply getting to that target object and then middle mouse and then drag little, that's it. So you can snap it with the help of the V. So this is it. So we're going to cover the next thing in the next video. Okay, thank you.